That is absolutely a violation of the spirit of the Constitution and basic American rights, and it's actually a violation of the letter of the Constitution and basic American rights. So if we want to play the game and try and go back and forth with semantics, no. You're the party of the guy who said eat in Chinatown, and then the next week said I will shut down churches permanently unless you follow my every order. You have no leg to stand on. It's done. We're not listening to you. Here's the thing. I want to talk about New York because I think it not only is New York obviously leading the United States in coronavirus, Wu flu, Kung flu, Chinese virus, whatever we want to call it, cases and deaths. And it's not lost on me that the idea of per capita, that's something the media does, by the way, right? They say we have more infections, we have more infections and deaths than any other country. But then all of a sudden when they say we don't have enough testing, they use the per capita scale. It's like, well, hold on, shouldn't we apply it to both?
It should be.
Because per capita deaths, we're not even close to the countries that you praise. Belgium, France, Sweden, not Sweden, Belgium, France, Spain, Italy.
Definitely China, if we had
countries that are insignificant on a global scale as it relates to medical research.
Interchangeable, really.
And for some reason, they go back and forth. So keep an eye on that because that does matter. Sometimes you will see even in the same article, they'll reference infections and deaths total. And then in the very same paragraph, they will reference the testing not being up to snuff. We have more tests than any other country. We don't have the best number of testing per capita, but it's actually a significantly better number than you look at the difference between a total of deaths versus per capita deaths. There's a wider gap with those. So you all know that New York, obviously New York, they've added a tremendous, in a terrible way, a tragic number of deaths and cases, right? They just passed everywhere else, of course, in the country. They didn't just pass them, but we just had a surge. But here's what also matters. They just added 3,700 deaths, which sounds really bad because you hear, oh, wait, hold on, we've crested, we've hit the peak, right? We're flattening the curve. And then they go, more deaths than ever in New York. Well, actually, these deaths had never been tested. Just to be clear, we can bring that up from the New York Times. These are 3,700 deaths that they added saying, mark them down as COVID.
Wow. That seems a bit strange.
And so think about that for a second. 3,700. When you look at the total deaths, I don't know at the time of this broadcast, it's somewhere between 28 and 29,000, I believe.
Something like that,
3,700 could be a guess. Your guess is as good as mine. That matters, especially when you go, okay, let's say 30,000. Let's round it up. Let's take away people who are over the age of 80. Let's take away people who have diabetes or have serious heart conditions. Let's take away all the ones that are just, mark it down as COVID. And guess what? You are left with an unbelievably small number of deaths. Doesn't mean that those deaths don't matter, but it does matter in us gauging the response and the accuracy of the kind of aftermath that we'll have from this disease. Now, let's be clear here. Governor Cuomo, as much as I can't stand his brother, I'm still love to have a cage match with him. He's actually been getting along pretty well with Donald Trump, just like Gavin Newsom, where they've both been praising each other, aside from the barbell nipples. But come on, these are mundane details.
You can't stop.
Barbell nipples are not a mundane detail, Michael. But the New York City mayor, and it's often easy to forget because Giuliani was great, and then you had Bloomberg, who was hysterical, and then you have de Blasio, who's just an ass bag. So a lot of people forget that he's the mayor of New York City. He's done the opposite of Cuomo. He has tried to pin all of this on Donald Trump. And I understand that everyone needs to, there does need to be some blame somewhere. The buck needs to stop somewhere so we know how to fix it moving forward. But he's even gone so far as to insinuate that Donald Trump has killed people. Here you go.
Chuck, the President of the United States is from New York City, and he will not lift a finger to help his hometown. And I don't get it, Chuck. I can't be blunt enough. If the president doesn't act,
I'm
people
Bill
will die
enough.
Could have lived otherwise.
You can be dishonest enough.
Who are members of families.
Chuck.
And we can't get action from the President of the United States.
Okay, so let's go through the timeline here because I do think that this matters. Keep in mind, Donald Trump restricted travel from China, travel ban, whatever you want to call it, January 31st. Okay? Of course, it didn't really take long for New York progressives to spin it as racist, and then you had city officials telling people to attend the Chinese lunar parade. De Blasio, not only this, you see those tweets, de Blasio himself encouraged people to eat in Chinatown in late February, and then you have Pelosi even stopped by to promote, but let's be honest, you don't just stop by in Chinatown. They decided to stage a photo op after the travel ban in Chinatown to gather and eat in public, in case you think I'm lying.
It should not stop you from going about your life, should not stop you from going to Chinatown and going out to eat. I'm going to do that today myself.
Come to Chinatown. Here we are. We're, again, careful, safe, and come join us.
Wow.
sentences.
3 things.
Did anyone else know they were all 6 inches from each other right there? Yeah. Hey, but if it's for purposes of a photo op, it's fine.
I have done this show. Seldom am I at a loss for words.
Yeah, it's as bad as it.
I feel like Chris Hansen when he showed up and that pedophile was naked at McDonald's for the 2nd time from the chat room. I was just trying to get something to eat. What? And he just looks at me and goes, what? And he walks off. Like, he knows he's getting arrested.
Like, I know the cops are on the other side of the door.
They were encouraging people to eat in Chinatown. Eat in Chinatown.
Let that sink in.
Eat in Chinatown. That's enough. Without the virus, eat in Chinatown. Let's keep this in mind here. Most Chinese Americans don't want to eat in Chinatown. You're safe. Come on down. So this is what really matters to me too. Is you can go back and say that sure, Donald Trump could have taken actions earlier in some specific instances. Understood. Certainly not a perfect handling, but eat in Chinatown. Long after the travel ban, you can go back and say, well, they didn't get the supplies. You obviously weren't worried. You were telling everyone that they should just go about their merry way, that it's no worse than the flu, and that they should all take the opportunity to eat in Chinatown.
The Chinatown Restaurateurs Association was like, Pelosi, here's some money.
Right. All right. It's like Nancy Eat in Chinatown Pelosi. That should be her name from now
Billy
on,
Joel can't write a song about that. Scenes from a Chinatown restaurant? It would be horrific. It'd be NC-17 Billy Joel B-sides, and no one wants that. So then a few days later, after encouraging people to eat in Chinatown, first case occurred and the spread began in Manhattan. On March 2nd, while we're talking about timelines here, de Blasio tweeted, I want to make sure I get this right, since I'm encouraging New Yorkers, March 2nd, to go on with your lives, plus, the symbol plus, I assume he ran out of characters, plus get out on the town despite coronavirus, I thought I would offer some suggestions beyond eating in Chinatown. Here's the first. Through Thursday, is this? I'm trying to see. Is it March 5th?
Yeah.
Okay, it's March 5th. I couldn't. Yeah, March 5th to go see The Traitor at Film Inc. I don't even know what that is. The Wire was a true story, plus symbol again, set in Italy, it would be this film. Okay, the first thing is it's nonsensical.
Yeah.
That's a horrible tweet. That's an anti-plug. And of all the things, by the way, keep in mind, a movie theater is the worst place to go to outside of being in Chinatown.
Well,
it almost seems like that.
Worst.
It almost seems like that goes without saying. Right. Unfortunately, it was exactly said. Yeah. So it almost goes without saying. It's like the worst place to go during a pandemic with a virus that stems from China, outside of eating in Chinatown. And people are like, you wasted some syllables there.
Yeah, didn't have to say that. Could have spelled out plus.
We got it. But no, I have to say it. Don't eat in Chinatown, in case the message hasn't been clear. Movie theaters are the worst place to go to because you cannot manage distance at all.
Yeah. Or 7-Eleven bathrooms.
7-Eleven bathrooms, but that's always, even without pandemics.
Right, that's natural occurring.
Their plumbing is less efficient than the Romans.
History dig. Got him, Romans.
But let's go through the timeline, because I always go through the timeline trying to make it seem like Donald Trump did nothing in de Blasio. March 8th. That's after March 2nd. So you'd think March 8th, did he improve?
You'd think.
No. In case you didn't know the arc of this segment where it's going, he said that, and here's something that, I'm not a epidemiologist. See, that's pretending to be stupid.
Almost correct.
So I'm not an epidemiologist.
This close.
But even then, when a virus spreads, when there's like a virus out and we don't know a whole lot about it, I would say, well, I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure that since a lot of people are getting it, it could be transmitted through contact, or you should clean surfaces.
You have to hedge just a little.
Right. You don't need to be a doctor to understand that.
Right.
Well, the thing is, de Blasio is not a doctor, and he also doesn't understand that because he said that COVID disappears from surfaces in minutes, like it was a ShamWow commercial, and that it couldn't be transmitted through casual contact. Watch.
You need to really have some direct contact. You need to have the kind of exposure that you wouldn't get casually on the subway, for example.
This is a disease that does not live long on a surface. Certainly on most surfaces like metal, plastic, a desk, a kitchen counter, a subway pole. It's only a matter of minutes before the disease dies.
And the interpreter, I don't know if you saw, he was saying, this ass followed by toxicity of our city.
He was so like emotive when he was doing those things.
De Blasio's like, all right, are you done? No! Running on the wall! Disorder! All right, stop it. Wake up! What? I'm riding it. I'm milking this for all it's worth. I'm not going to be here in a year.
I think Bill's in pain.
Oh my God!
Didn't he? Didn't he? A little bit.
Yeah, he did.
For real. Yeah, for sure.
And I usually try not to take aim at that singer from System of a Down because he's been through enough with Cenk denying. So
the thing in the place.
To clarify, because this is a silly show, but let's get serious for a second and only 1 second. Coronavirus does remain on services for a very long time. As a matter of fact. Yeah, it's really bad. I want to be clear, provide you with some information. Of course, coronavirus can be transmitted just through casual contact. We had Dr. Choi, my Korean doctor, on the show, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks ago to talk about it, and he did have this to say.
It is by contact. Like if we shake the hands of another person who has a virus, or if we actually touch the surfaces soon after somebody who has a virus touches the surface, and then we touch our face with it.
Right.
Because it enters through our eyes, our nose, our mouth. So it's a respiratory virus. But we can also get it. It can be airborne. It's typically not. It can be airborne or droplet. So if somebody coughs at us, and then we can actually inhale that, and we can get the virus infection.
By the way, he's also a part-time signer.
Oh, wow.
Virus go in head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. I love Dr. Choi, by the way. He's going to be on soon. He's the best
like
doctor I've ever had. By the way, hit the notification bell. We have Ben Shapiro coming up in a minute. Hit all notifications because subscriptions don't necessarily mean a whole lot. There's also Crider Bits now where you can watch some segments.
Yes.
And, of course, do consider joining Mug Club because that's all we have. That's it. I don't have anything else to say. It's very sad when I think about it. If you don't join up, we're dead. Oh, promo code quarantine. That's right, $30. Thank you for helping me, fisherman's friend. Essay. And new content every day at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern every day, in case you can't be bothered to do any of those things. Let's look at the difference, though, between President Trump and Mayor de Blasio. Again, he's the mayor of New York City. It's easy to forget. So the media, they said that Trump downplayed this whole thing when, let's be honest, lately, he's really just been trying to give Americans hope. He's been saying, hey, we might be past the peak right now. There are things that we're doing. There are treatments that might be working. We're on the road toward a vaccine, right? Hey, maybe we'll be open by Easter, he said. He didn't open everything by Easter.
No.
Let's be really clear. Now let's contrast that with de Blasio, who was telling people to get out there and attend public gatherings along with eating in Chinatown.
Delicious.
This entire time. So compare, like, hopefully it would be a beautiful timeline if we could be open on Easter. People are like, can you believe this guy? And the other guy's eating, you know, rat on a stick. This is delicious down here in Chinatown. Chin shot day, mayor of New York. This really matters because it also, not only does it show the blame game is just totally playing politics, whereas people say, we don't have time for politics, like Governor Whitmer from Michigan. I don't have time for politics, and she puts on that hat that says, that lady from Michigan. You don't have time for politics. Just time to audition for Joe Biden's vice presidential candidate, so that hopefully, you know, people don't think he's actually retarded. They're not going to buy it, by the way.
Too late.
So this matters because you need to contrast the reaction time, but also a fundamental misunderstanding, misinterpretation of the role of government, and this directly relates to the Constitution. So let me explain this really quickly. Yes, we know that they all hate Donald Trump, the media, when we're talking about the media right now. And I'm not his biggest fan, but I think the pettiness, the childishness, this is karma. If karma were a thing,
so good.
This is what they deserve. But again, they freaked out in misrepresenting him saying that his authority in allowing states to reopen their own economies is absolute.
As John King was just saying, he's claiming that he has authorities that he doesn't have. The Constitution does not give the President of the United States total authority.
David, is the President's power total in this?
Clearly, it's not total.
Yeah, let's get our advice from a three split view with Axelrod and the Octomom.
She's a voice that's needed, Steve.
So can you believe this? He's a dictator, authoritarian. He's saying that his authority in allowing states to reopen is absolute. Now let's compare this to, after all the downplaying, after all of it, it's not an emergency. Go eat in Chinatown. New York City shut everything down after all of this. And de Blasio claimed that he has the power, the absolute power, to permanently shut down any church or synagogue that disobeys his orders.
Everyone has been instructed that if they see worship services going on, they will go to the officials of that congregation. They'll inform them they need to stop the services and disperse. If that does not happen, they will take additional action up to the point of fines and potentially closing the building permanently.
Closing the building permanently. Keep in mind, too, that de Blasio this is the guy who's concerned that a Christian group might be helping and that they may not be allowed to because they're anti-gay and Islamophobic. By the way, did he mention anything about Islamic places of worship being shut down permanently? Just the Jews, right? Just the Christians and the Jews? Odd that he chose to mention Christians and Jews. Anti-Semitic much? I don't know. And that goes over very well in the Upper West Side. But this is remarkable to me for a few reasons. Yeah, the park thing. There was a guy who got fined for kissing his wife in a park.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you do realize... You realize I'm going to go have sex with her right after this, right?
Yeah.
She's my wife.
If it's going to get it, it's going to happen.
Ridiculous. Do they actually think that we're social distancing at home?
No.
I've been trying.
Because let me tell you.
I keep putting my kid in a different room. My wife's like, "You might drown." Social distance.
Yeah.
The government told me,
not
though.
sexually with your wife. We're not trying to do it. No, because listen, even I don't care what the virus is. You could bring back SARS-1. I get mine, Larry. So I can't believe that they find someone in a public park. But this is this to me shows a fundamental incapability of understanding the role of government. Okay, I think Donald Trump was wrong in saying he has absolute authority. Now, I think in context, it's not nearly as severe as people make it out to be. And if you look at his actions, they've actually been pretty measured. Don't take my word for it. Take Cuomo, take Newsom's word for it, right? He didn't open things at Easter. He was hoping that we could open things for Easter. He hasn't reopened the entire economy now. He's hoping that we can. He hasn't signed some kind of an executive order. What he's saying is that he can end effectively a national ban on commerce that is happening and allow states to reopen. He has absolute authority to defer it to the states. That is important. Compare that with de Blasio, who is there on camera expressly communicating a violation of the First Amendment, saying that he will shut down churches permanently after you just said go down and eat in Chinatown. So churches are going, well, I guess it isn't that big a deal. We can go and socially distance. It's not as bad as Chinatown. He is saying that he would shut down churches permanently. Let me be really clear. Separation of church and state is a term that's thrown around. It's not actually a real thing. It's not an actual real wording. It's written from Jefferson to the Danbury Baptist, taken out of context. But when you look at the First Amendment, the spirit of it is very important because it's about keeping the government out of the church running business. Why? Precisely to preserve the church, because they believe that for a moral for a free society, you had to have a moral society. So they saw the importance of the church and did not want to have a Church of England. That's why it exists. And here you have a mayor not saying he has the absolute authority to defer to states in reopening their economies as they see fit, but you have a mayor of the biggest city in the country saying, hey, I am going to use my church to step into the church running or synagogue business and shut them down permanently if they don't take my granted conflicting advice. That is absolutely authoritarian. That is absolutely a violation of the spirit of the Constitution and basic American rights, and it's actually a violation of the letter of the Constitution and basic American rights. So if we want to play the game and try and go back and forth with semantics, no. You're the party of the guy who said eat in Chinatown and then the next week said I will shut down churches permanently unless you follow my every order. You have no leg to stand on. It's done. We're not listening to you. Let's look at the pluses and minuses and get back to starting this economy. Hey, if you like this video, subscribe or hit the notification bell and hit all notifications. Of course, you can join Mug Club at what? It's moving pictures. Talkies. They're in boxes. They really do travel in boxes.